There we are. I didn't know that little intro thing was there. Hey, Mark, what's going on?
Doing well, man. Thanks. Just
Good to
hanging
see
out
you.
on a lovely Friday morning.
Yeah, man. Good to see you. It's been a while since we did a stream, so this is cool. And I figured for today we would and we can tell stories too. Whatever we want. Uh, but I figured that we just go through some of these questions. I took questions from clients and people that are interested in radical undoing, and then also from like forums and social media posts and things that are sort of the most commonly asked questions about stress relief, anxiety, burnout, uh, depression, mind body connection, and then radical undoing as well. Specific stuff about that. So, and if we have stories or things that we want to relate, that's also fine. But I figure we can just kind of go into some of these. So the first question. Oops. Questions I'm doing. The first question is: what causes the most stress? The most stress for most people, and I think that's kind of a funny question because most people probably know what's causing them stress, but then again, maybe not. Maybe they don't realize that. Well, I'll tell you my answer, and you can say if yours is different. My answer is that people are stuck inside their heads, inside their imagination, and that they are reacting to the thoughts and the stories in the mind as if those are more real than what's actually happening. And so then that leads people to react when things aren't really going bad, but they react as if they are. And then they create situations that are, let's say, more difficult to handle. So that's my answer, is that most people are stressed out because they're imagining things, imagining catastrophes in their mind and then reacting to those as if they are real.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. And almost it gets to the point where it's chronic, where it's like a fish in water. You don't even know that you're trapped in the mind, that kind of stress.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can be crazy then. A classic example I've brought up from my life was when I was out at this camp out with a whole bunch of people in Wisconsin, and I was there with my girlfriend, and there was some group of people that I heard was talking shit about me, and in my head, that included her, and in my head, it mattered that they were too. Now it's funny to think back to that. Now I really wouldn't care, but in my head, I had to like handle the situation, or she was going to break up with me. Now she never said that, and no one ever said that, but I just freaked out. I totally freaked out, and then because of the way I was acting, then she did want to break up with me after that. That pretty much wrecked it, and I was just reacting like as if it had already happened, but there was actually nothing wrong. And if I would have just chilled out, it would not have been a big deal at all. So I was reacting and having this huge stress response to something that wasn't real at all. And then it made it real, actually.
It's funny how that works. I was listening to one of your sessions last week. This is one of the things you said. It was a really old session, and it was just like you're reminding everybody to slow down. And that seems to be really helpful when you get caught in some of those, like in your mind, and you're overreacting to things before they even happen. Like just tell yourself, slow down, slow down, slow down. And that's where the undoing comes in, where you can actually find that space.
Yeah, where you notice that you're stuck in your head, or that something's happening, or that there's thoughts at least, but you don't have to react to them. Yeah. And then someone else asked the question, how can I tell the difference between normal stress and harmful stress? And that one, You want to take a swing at that one, Mark?
I think some stress is necessary in life, but there's a point where it goes over a line where it's not helpful. It's like, I'll bring it back to the gym. You can only handle, like, you have to progress in your weights. You can't just go in there and squat 405 for reps. Even if you can do that cold, you're going to hurt yourself. So you got to kind of work up to that, increase your ability to handle stress. And that might be different for some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the difference, I suppose, would be that normal stress might be like excitement about a holiday coming up, or maybe it's about how it's framed, because I would say that it's harmful when people don't have the capacity to handle it and don't understand it properly, and they start calling it anxiety or some kind of disorder and then getting medication for it. But I guess the way you'd be able to tell the difference would be, with normal stress, you can still find a way to enjoy the intensity of the feelings or of the sensations that are accompanying it. Whereas harmful stress would be like you're in complete overwhelm and you can't really make any decisions, you know.
I think you really nailed it with reframing too, because sometimes I'll just, instead of saying it's stress or I'm anxious, I'll say I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be helpful.
Yeah, there's like that mentalist line that he says, don't you love it when the stakes are high? And everyone else kind of like, what? Yeah. Another one that's kind of related to what we started talking about. Why do some people handle stress better than others? And I would say that's, well, in terms of the radical undoing breath and bodywork stuff, that will help raise your stress tolerance or raise your intensity tolerance, meaning you can handle a lot more intensity or difficulty or frustration before reacting or before getting overwhelmed or paralyzed. So that's what I'd say. Some people have a higher capacity. They're not full of chronic tension and walling themselves off to feeling aliveness. Whereas some people who are really afraid or resistant to feeling alive or feeling intensity, a little bit of stress is going to knock them over. They won't be able to respond, or won't be able to see that they actually have options.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, some people can't even go to like a dinner party and handle that sort of social anxiety. I know I've had feelings like that myself. Mm-hmm. And then you have high performers who will get up on stage and sing and perform in front of thousands of people and take that energy and use it to do that.
Yeah. But the good thing is it is possible to raise the stress tolerance. And with the undoing, you're essentially putting yourself under a somewhat stressful experience with the exercises or with the sessions. But at the same time, you can learn how to be fully relaxed while you're going through the experience, which is what makes it kind of unique.
What's that? It sort of creates a safe space to increase your tolerance there, instead of just jumping both feet into a situation where you might not be able to handle. With the radical undoing, you can do that in the privacy of your own bedroom and come out feeling more powerful.
Yeah, more powerful, more grounded, less tense, more aware. So another stress one, is stress really all in the mind, or are there physical components? I would say there are physical components, like the chronic tension. The chronic tension, that's like if a person has chronic tension in their shoulders, then they're going to feel like they're under stress more of the time, because the chronic tension in the shoulders is telling the mind that there's an emergency happening, or that there's a crisis happening. That's because the shoulders pull up on the lungs when you need extra breathing, it's the emergency breathing muscles are activated. And so it's telling the brain there's an emergency happening. We need more oxygen. even though it's just chronic tension in the shoulders holding them up. But the brain doesn't know the difference, because that's how it would, how the body would react in a crisis or a tension. I mean, a crisis or an emergency situation. There would be more tension in that area in order to get more oxygen into the muscles to react or respond to it. So no, it's not all in the mind. Stress is related to the amount of tension you're carrying around in your body. I guess, in fact, you could call the chronic tension a form of stress that's like always present. And then people are unaware that it's present. So if the diaphragm is tense in the belly, then there's not any extra breathing room. So then there's like constant stress on the whole system, because you're not getting enough oxygen to the blood and to the brain.
It's even difficult to tease apart. I mean, they're talking about the mind and the body. It all sort of turns into the same thing.
Yeah, because when there's chronic tension in the diaphragm, and then there's not enough oxygen getting, not deep enough breathing, not enough oxygen getting to the brain. Then if there's some kind of fear reaction, it constricts the blood vessels even more. There's less oxygen, creates more stress, creates more tension in the body. Like, yeah, so it goes back and forth. And we'll get to that mind-body connection thing too, which it's funny now, having done the undoing for so long, I almost laugh at the idea of mind-body connection, like as if they were ever separated, you know. But they're both interacting at all times. Let's see. Let's skip that one. Skip that one. Can stress actually be beneficial? If so, when and how? Well, I think it can be. It can push you to make changes in your life. It can push you to accomplish more than you would normally accomplish.
I think being aware of it is part of the key too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a situation like, well, my dad was in the hospital earlier this year, and then the stress of that really woke me up to, like, man, I need to go see him. Now, I was already saying I need to go see him for the last 5 or 10 years. I hadn't been there for 19 years, but then the stress of that, the intensity of that situation created stress that then propelled me to go there. So I went, and I got to hang out with him and be there and see my family and everything. So in that way, the stress was a good thing, Without that, I would have just kept waiting around. And I think it could be that way with business and money and relationships and all kinds of things, when you're forced to actually make a decision and take action.
Yeah, I can see that. In a similar situation, putting my old dog to sleep about a month ago, and it just brought the death workshop right to the forefront of my consciousness. And I saw everything around me sort of on its journey to end. You can see how finite everything was. It's almost like your brain plays this trick on you that everything is just going to be the same, and it's not. And it kind of forced me to move.
Yeah, man, those intense situations are good in that way, and they're yeah, sometimes avoiding that stress is a problem then, but that's a good kind of stress. But it's there's some sorrow and pain in facing the truth, but it's beneficial.
Absolutely. Because previously I had another dog. We waited too long, and he just kept getting sicker and sicker, and he suffered far too long because we just wouldn't make the decision. And this time I was like, I took her for a walk the week before, and her back leg stopped working. And I was like, listen, we got to do this. And it actually turned out to be a beautiful experience out here in our yard, because they did a home visit. We had her on a blanket, music playing, and she just slipped into sleep, and that was it.
Yeah. Sorry to hear about that, though. I know it's difficult, but yeah, reality. So Next few questions are about managing stress. What are the most effective evidence-based techniques for immediate stress relief? Well, I would say that it's obviously radical undoing, but specifically doing the face stretches and the shoulders to ears exercise, because those are going to be, I say they're the most effective. They're also the fastest, and you get the most results from those with the least amount of effort. So with the face stretch, do that 5 minutes twice a day, and the shoulders one for 1 or 2 minutes twice a day. And doing that's going to just dump all the emotional baggage out of your face, and then out of your, you won't be as reactive to things. And then the shoulder one's just going to give you immediate relief of the chronic tension in the shoulders. And when you feel that, your mind will also relax. You feel more grounded. Just like, oh man, what was I just doing? Locked up in this kind of tension. And then the flops, yelling into the pillow in kind of a specific way, but doing the yelling into the pillow, the panic breath, the gag reflex will take off the stress pretty fast. What else? What do you think, Mark?
Well, what I love about radical undoing is if you commit to it daily, I mean, you could potentially only take 20 to 30 minutes out of your day, and it can have real impacts on your life. Whereas I, quote unquote, meditated for years before I found this work, and found myself spinning my wheels and not getting really any results out of it. Whereas the first time you do faces, if you do it with mindfulness and intensity and follow the directions, you will get something out of it every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a trip. Still doing those after 20 years, but yeah, it just keeps going and going. And then if you add the, hour or hour and a half of the lay down, the full radical undoing session each week on top of that, it does bring immediate stress relief, but it also makes you more resilient to stress and to intensity in your life and to problems and difficulties. So you might even perceive that you have less stress, but it's because you actually can handle more. And sometimes even that looks like not reacting and having arguments in situations where you used to be reactive. So it's funny. Sometimes people won't notice that they're getting results from the undoing work because they're just no longer reacting to things that they used to react to, but they're not noticing because it's something is just missing. Not necessarily anything new happening. So that's kind of fun too.
Just not reacting in road rage situations where somebody cuts you off and usually you flip them the bird, and then this time you just laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't even have those reactions anymore. And I used to get so pissed when I was driving. Like, just it's hilarious how upset how upset we used to get. And then people kill each other over that. It's crazy. Oh, let's see. Does medication help in relieving stress, and when should it be considered? I mean, my answer to that is no. I don't think it helps relieve stress. It helps mask what's going on, or maybe tranquilizes you. It depends which medication. Unless you're like having a complete psychotic break, even then, I don't really think medication, well, same thing. No, medication is that great, but I guess I could see an argument for it when a person is like trying to kill somebody or like complete break with reality. Maybe they need a tranquilizer for that time.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I work in the field where people are constantly medicated.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it seems it's the first answer before any other sort of lifestyle considerations are taken in. They don't address sleep. They don't address diet. They don't address any of that stuff. It's just, here's your pill. And if that one stops working, we'll give you another one.
Huh. And is this an inpatient place where you're at or outpatient?
Inpatient.
And so they're handling the meals and stuff too there.
Mhm.
But it's not like dialed in for proper nutrition and that kind of stuff.
Oh no,
No.
the food barely is edible.
Oh, that's too bad.
And even the meal replacement stuff is like, I don't know if you're aware of Ensure. It's basically just corn syrup and a bunch of chemicals.
Mm. Yeah, that's not good, dude. I'm sorry to
Not to mention
hear that.
waking these poor guys up every half an hour to check on them at night.
Really? You check on them every half hour?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. So you're actually driving them a little bit insane, or helping contribute to it. Keep them there, maybe. Who knows? There must be more holistic places in the world. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's not. But I've heard of prisons in like Norway or Finland or something that sound more holistic than like the mental hospitals in U.S. and Canada and stuff. But
I mean, things are slowly moving in that direction. They're addressing things like recreation and occasionally spirituality and stuff. But it's you can see how the pharmaceutical industry has a stranglehold on kind of where their philosophy goes. And it's a quick fix. I mean, most people, they ask for it, they want it.
Yeah. I mean, people have been trained to think that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I found an article, a few articles in these, I forget which journal, but these peer-reviewed journals about. I was trying to find, because people say that you have a chemical imbalance, and that's why you need to take the meds, but that's actually completely disproven. And I couldn't really even find any studies that proved it in the first place, but the assertion has been disproven. The connection between schizophrenia or depression or anxiety and then a so-called chemical imbalance. Nobody actually ever found a chemical imbalance. And there was these psychiatrists speaking to Congress in U.S. Insisting that the psychiatrists and the drug companies were not to be able, they were not supposed to be using any language that makes it seem like there's a chemical imbalance that's being fixed by the drugs.
Wow.
Because they were still wording it in such a way that it sounded like there is a chemical imbalance. And I realized, like, well, they're not supposed to say that at all because it's totally untrue. But so many people I've met that are on it, and psychiatrists I've talked to are like, no, it's because there's a chemical imbalance. And if you ask any of them, like, well, really, did they study your actual brain or do a test? Well, no, but they know. And how do you know? How do they know? And they don't know how they know. They're just repeating it. It's crazy, dude. Let's see what else. How effective is exercise as a stress reliever? I'd say super effective. Depends on which exercise, I guess, but even just body weight conditioning, lifting weights, going running, going bicycling, taking a long walk, going swimming. I think that is super helpful.
It's a staple in my routine. I have to train hard 4 to 5 times a week, or else my body just, I'm the type of guy, I've got all this energy, it's got to get out. And I think most people are that way and they don't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really helpful. And then that combined with the radical undoing stuff really takes the edge off. And it makes the working out
definitely no substitute for the undoing. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Oh,
There's no substitute. Like, before I touch the undoing, I exercised for years, and I can't compare the kinds of relief I get from the undoing to exercise.
Yeah, it's wild. You would expect that it would, because I did all that other stuff too. Like I did yoga of many different kinds, Kundalini yoga, martial arts. Martial arts are great for stress relief, but none of it touched like that, getting out of the hell of the mind. It was like you could stay totally trapped in there, even while mastering certain aspects of the body. It's kind of strange.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say as an adjunct to stress relief, definitely people need to be moving more.
Yeah, especially in our very sedentary lives right now. I mean, most people ride a desk for a living. They don't even get enough steps in, let alone intense physical exercise.
Yeah, it's crazy. Totally crazy. Oh, so let's see, what breathing techniques actually work for stress reduction? Well, again, radical undoing. But there's specific types of breathing you can do, like the panic breath, which is amazing. Uh, it simulates like a panic attack with the breathing. And then you're holding the breath for part of it. And then when you finally let go and fully breathe in, all air and the air comes rushing back in, and it's just the most relieving sensation in the world. And that takes just about 1 or 2 minutes. And then just the regular breathing, laying down on your back with your knees up and your feet flat on the bed, and all the joints mobile and in the undoing position, and then just breathing in through the mouth into the belly, and then say ah. So breathing through the mouth and saying ah after every breath, that specifically is a really good breathing technique for stress reduction. It just starts sloughing off all the chronic tension in the body, so you just feel relief pretty fast. And then with repetition, it works even faster. Then you can just say oh during the day and kind of get a deep relaxation for a moment through the whole body, like automatically.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that with the yaw breathing. If you're having a particularly intense part of your day, if you can find 3 minutes to just do 3 to 5 all breaths in the bathroom, get some privacy, especially once you've done a few long sessions, it'll bring you right back to that kind of baseline of relaxation after just a couple of breaths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And then you can combine that with the face stretches, with the shoulders, whatever. What else we got here? And what role does sleep play in stress management? You mentioned something about sleep, Mark.
Well, you got to shut down that brain at least 8 hours a day, black out your room, have it nice and cold. You can't be waking up 3 to 4 times a night. That's just going to totally wreck your sleep schedule.
And you feel like go ahead, sorry.
I often think a lot of the changes that are happening when you start doing the undoing work happen during when we are asleep.
Yeah, the brain starts to repair itself. And the body, it remaps the body image, and the tension map with less tension. So there's a certain level of tension in the body that we could call homeostasis. And so sometimes when people go to sleep, then if they're relaxed, they'll fall asleep, and then the body will stay tense because it needs to stay at a certain level of chronic tension to feel safe, like it's a protective layer. And so with the undoing, you break apart that, you destroy that homeostasis, and then the brain needs to repair. And as it does so, then it remaps the body image with less tension, so that your homeostasis over time, you're carrying less and less chronic tension as a norm. When you have less chronic tension, then you're less reactive to things. So you stop adding more tension, and you stop having reactions to things that are meaningless, and then you stop stressing out about stuff.
I just had a thought pop into my head. You're talking about the body remapping, or the mind remapping the body into less tension. I've thought a few times, like, if you could just jump to the end of undoing, just become totally relaxed, that you would almost, it wouldn't be possible, because it's supposed to be a slow journey almost.
Say more about that.
So it'd be like flipping a switch and being totally relaxed, but I think you would almost react to be safe, to come back to that baseline level of tension that you're used to. It's almost like you couldn't handle being totally relaxed all at once. It's supposed to be a little slower.
Yeah, I think that's why it's more permanent results from radical undoing, or semi-permanent, let's say, because you're chipping away at it slowly, and then the brain has the time when you're sleeping to rebuild itself, and you start to experience life in a completely different way. But you need to sort of continually update update your frame of what's going on, and yeah, it's good. It is gradual. Let's say you do get immediate relief, but the big character shifts are more gradual. Yeah.
Enjoy the process.
Mm-hmm. So let's go to some burnout. You got more time? I figure we could go for another 20,
Sure.
30. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to some burnout questions. What's the difference between being stressed and experiencing burnout?
Well, burnout says to me that you're completely done, whereas stress can be just, I guess, say you have 100 hit points in a week to experience stress, and this week you've done 115. That would be burnout. So your capacity is just completely overwhelmed.
So like you're just paralyzed or like overwhelmed, unable to act at all.
Yeah. Complete your daily routines. You start acting out.
Yeah, like out of control of emotions and reactions to things. So that would be burnout. Yeah, and stressed is just feeling a little more intensity, I'd say. But burnout's like you just can't do a certain thing or look at a certain project or deal with a certain person. What are the early warning signs of burnout that people typically miss? I'd say like losing interest in your work or in your hobbies and things you really like. In a relationship, getting constantly reacting to small things with the other person, like real lack of mercy and no merciful heart and no ability to forgive and constant complaining. That would be a sign that you're like constant complaining about a certain situation.
Well, that's one that brings me back to the analogy of a fish in water. You can meet with these people sometimes and you talk to them and everything is just constantly, everything's bad.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what happens.
Someone asks, how do I know if I'm experiencing burnout or just going through a difficult period? I guess burnout is. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Depends what's going on in your life. I mean, that's totally relevant too. I mean, you can have work issues, family passes away. I mean, you can go through these situations and get through them. You stop doing the things you love to do. Yeah, that's all I have on that.
Yeah. Well, I'd say burnout would be like more of a chronic thing that doesn't even, where it's less dependent on external circumstances. Maybe nothing's going on, maybe stuff is going on, but you're just unable to cope with or handle it. Whereas a difficult period, you'll know what the difficult period, why you're going through it. Like, oh, this person died, or I have to move, or from one house to another, or you have to change jobs or professions or careers, something like that. You'll know why you're having a difficult period. But if it's burnout, it's going to be that everything is too much to handle. You can't see a beginning and an end. Yeah, and you can't see a beginning and end to the period. So difficult period, even though they're difficult, you like if you had to get surgery or recover from some kind of injury, there's kind of a beginning and end point of that. And so you might be able to handle the intensity of it more. Whereas burnout is just kind of existential in a way. So that'd be how to discern, I'd say. Let's see. Skip some of these. What's the most effective approach to recovering from severe burnout? Well, I would say, again, radical undoing at the core. And then, but not just the physical exercises. Those are going to help you just get grounded and centered and out of your mind back into the body. because the burnout might be a result of certain stories that you're repeating to yourself or that you believe about yourself or your situation. And once you get back centered again, the burnout might be over. But also, some of the other things in the undoing, like the adventures in the world, the cognitive experiments, like real contact, for example, going out and making real contact with everybody for 24 hours. Uh, Certain types of cognitive experiments and creative expression that goes with, for example, the radical undoing 28-day intensives. Uh, those experiences can just reframe everything that's going on in your life. Like, you could think that you're having burnout because you hate your job, but you might be the problem. Meaning, like, if you decided that you're going to go in and just have a great time and do the best job you can, even at a really shitty job, your whole experience of it is going to change. You won't be burned out anymore. You'll just be stoked on it. Just get excited. Show up early on purpose. There's ways that you can approach those situations and make them actually really fun, no matter how difficult they are, no matter how painful they are. So a lot of times this burnout is just a matter of it's like lack of creativity in the mind, or let's say, I don't want to say lack of creativity. That's unfair, but more like a result of a really improper framing of what's going on, and an inability to suffer properly, to handle intensity.
And just staying present. So much of our suffering is thinking about the past and the future. Yeah. Just stay right here, right now. Take a deep breath.
So, how can I rebuild motivation and passion after experiencing burnout? I think trying new things, putting yourself out there, connecting with different people, see who you're surrounding yourself with, how those relationships are making you feel. And maybe even think of switching careers or switching jobs or something like that, if that would help you get outside of your. Well, that's not always going to help though, because if the frame is wrong, then you're going to bring that shit to the next job and the next relationship as well. So it's more like we just said, reframing what's going on and going all in on whatever it is that you have to do. If you have to do that job, then just really go all in and make yourself the best at that, and bring your best to it. And it's just going to change how people perceive you, how you perceive yourself, and you'll easily get the motivation back.
Take some inventory in your life. Are you doing the basics? Are you sleeping well? Are you eating right? Are you exercising? Are you getting some fresh air? Are you seeing family? Are you sitting down for dinner with some people? Are you seeing friends?
Yeah, just handling the basics. Sometimes even just cleaning and rearranging your house can make or your room or whatever can make a big difference. Let's see. Let's go to some anxiety questions here. I don't even know if I want to do the anxiety questions because I don't really believe in that word. It's really can anxiety manifest differently in different people? Yes. The issue is that anxiety is just a category. It's like a category of experiences that are intense. Some intense experiences happening in the body generally, and people don't want to feel it, or they think it's wrong to feel it, or they think that something bad means something bad is happening or is going to happen. But it doesn't really, it's not inherent to the intensity that something's wrong with it. So if you can raise your anxiety tolerance, then there's not really such a thing as anxiety. There's just different sensations and feelings and experiences.
I was somewhat anxious to be here today. I turned that into energy instead, and I'm having a great time.
Yeah, it's like it's not a big deal, but people believe that it is a big deal, and then they overreact to it. I'm trying to be charitable though and see from the inside of the mind of someone who's going through it. Oh, I have so much anxiety, I just can't do this. It's like you got to learn to sit still while you're feeling those things, and then you'll prove to yourself over time that nothing actually happens, that those feelings can't hurt you, and then it will take the sting out of it, and take the fear out of it, and then it won't really matter anymore. Some people are terrified to go like make a fool of themselves dancing or singing or whatever, and then there's other people who are no better or worse at those activities, but who don't give a shit how they're perceived by other people. And the funny thing is, people end up gravitating to them anyway because they're having a great time, and you can tell, you can feel it.
I was at my brother's wedding a couple of years ago, and none of the men would dance. And I'm just out there. I can't dance, but I'm having the greatest time. So I had all these girls around me dancing with me because nobody would dance with them.
I know, they're just waiting for someone to come up and hang out. It's like so funny. Let's see. Yeah, I want to skip a lot of these anxiety ones. I don't really care about that as much.
And the more times, like if you have, I'll just touch on that anxiety thing once again.
Sure.
If you're anxious about something and then you don't do it, you're going to fall down 2 steps instead of, okay, I'm feeling anxious about this, and then I do it. You're going to gain the ability to do a little bit more each time you do that. The more times you run away from a situation, the worse it's going to get. To the point where you're not even leaving your house anymore. I've seen people do this.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. And there's a cycle that happens between anxiety and depression. If you don't learn how to handle feeling intensity or feeling fully alive, which can include sensations that normally people call anxiety, then what happens is your body starts to tense up against the sensation, so you don't feel as much anymore. And what that becomes is depression, meaning like you're just tense but not moving at all and not doing much. And so then you've walled yourself off from that feeling aliveness. And then when that becomes unbearable, you start exercising or going out again, then you're going to come back to the point of feeling that full aliveness again. And then you'll call that anxiety, and then it'll cycle back to the depression to avoid the feeling fully alive. So with the undoing, you break that cycle so you can feel full aliveness and relaxation at the same time. And when we do the sense and feel, I was thinking about this the other day, when we do the sense and feel at the end of the undoing session, or whenever you want, but particularly at the end of the session, where you make no voluntary movements, and you're just saying out loud whatever's happening in the body, whatever comes to your awareness. And so like you might have an itch and you just don't scratch it, there's an itch on the forehead, whatever. And for a second, it feels unbearable. Like, oh, I have to scratch that. And then all of a sudden it just disappears, just no longer an issue at all. And the same happens with cold. If you make the room super cold, maybe during the first part of the session, when I do that, I'll feel it. I won't be tensed up against it, but I will feel it and feel kind of like, oh man, it's a little too cold. And then after a while, I feel the same exact sensations of coldness, but it's not a bad thing at all. It's like not even unpleasant. Whereas prior to that, I felt like I had to do something to solve it. So through that practice, through doing the sense and feel and the radical undoing exercises ahead of time, you'll start to be able to see more clearly what's going on and to become aware of what you're seeing and what the difference is between the shit in the mind and what's actually happening. But also you won't be forced into reaction to anything. It's just like stuff is going on, but none of it's really a problem at all. Even if it's like a huge, crazy situation, you'll see like, oh, okay, well, who says it shouldn't be some huge, crazy situation? Like it's, Yeah, I guess people have some expectation that it's supposed to be like that life is supposed to go according to their expectations at all times. You know?
How boring would that be?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Where's the
totally wild.
surprise?
Yeah, but where did that idea even come from? That's funny that it should be that way. That's what's also strange. Now that we're getting into some territory like about worldviews. That's a deeper conversation. We could do another stream about that sometime. But to touch on it is that everyone has a set of assumptions they make about reality or about existence, about the world. And those set of assumptions include three things that are kind of interwoven about morality, like what is good and bad, epistemology, meaning how do you know what you know, or how do we have knowledge over time? How do we know things? What is knowledge? And then metaphysics. What assumptions are you making about the existence of the mind? Where does it come from? Information, like where is information? It's not in physical things. Like if you spell out, Jim Bob uses a good example. If you are on an island and you spell out the word help with sticks on the sand, the information in the word help is not in the sticks themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
So where's that information? So the worldview is a set of assumptions we make about those three things: morality, epistemology, and metaphysics. And if your worldview is incoherent, like for example, this one will be something that gets people going. But if you believe in evolution, for example, then knowledge is impossible because everything is just the result of chemical reactions, and even life itself is just the result of these complex chemical reactions, and it's the result of physics. So there is no free will, and there's no mind, and everything is physical. So there is no way to evaluate between two competing claims to see which one is true. That's what knowledge is over time, is evaluation between different claims and seeing which one is true. And so you have to have free will and a mind to be able to do that. But if the worldview is naturalism or physicalism, meaning everything is just physical, then there is no evaluation. There's no knowledge. There's no information. There's no mind. There could be none of that. So if you have a worldview that's incoherent, it's going to create cognitive dissonance. And when you have cognitive dissonance, then there has to be tension in the body to kind of mask what's going on in the mind. So it's tension and stress causing to have a broken worldview.
So would you say the undoing helps increase the coherence of your worldview or shakes it up in some way?
Yeah, because the chronic tension is there because of the cognitive dissonance in the mind. So when you when you break apart the chronic tension, it starts clearing out the lies in the mind. That's why a lot of people who were into the new age stuff or the occult stuff, all that stuff, who come to undoing, they see right through all that stuff all of a sudden. But they might have been involved with it like I was for years or decades, reading all these books and stuff that seem like they make sense, you know? And then like all this Buddhist stuff, all this crazy stuff, it seems like it makes sense. But then when you examine it, you can, once you get the bullshit detector activated with undoing, and you look back at that stuff, it's like, what are they even trying to say? I don't even know what the hell some of these people or these books are saying anymore. I can't understand what is going on in some of those systems when people are saying all this stuff. So, and all the fake spirituality. So yeah, when you do the undoing, then it undoes the chronic tension that's holding those broken worldviews in place.
So touching on the occultism and spirituality, new age stuff, it almost seems like those systems or ideologies get you deeper into the mind, which is antithetical to what the undoing does. Because it frees you from the mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from overreacting to the thoughts, and we don't even know where thoughts are coming from, so there's no need to be reactive to them. Let's look at a couple of these mind-body connection questions here. Do you know about the vagus nerve thing?
I've heard of it. Well, refresh my memory.
I'm not exactly sure how to explain it, but it's like I know that it's stimulated by the face stretches. Let's have a look here at let me take a look and see. Ask a question here. I like to call it the Las Vegas nerve.
What stays in the Las Vegas nerve, or what happens in the Las Vegas nerve stays there.
Yeah. So let's see what we got here. The 10th cranial nerve is the longest and one of the most important nerves in the autonomic nervous system. Originates in the brainstem, specifically medulla oblongata. It travels down through the neck, chest, and abdomen, branching out to connect the brain with major organs such as heart, lungs, and stomach, and intestines. It's sometimes called the wandering nerve. So it says it regulates. It's a key part of the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's responsible for the rest and digest response. Helps regulate involuntary functions like heart rate, breathing, digestion, and even speech and swallowing. That's interesting because people have said when they do the face stretches after a while, people that had like stuttering and things like that, that the stuttering goes away. And that might relate to the stimulation of the vagus nerve that happens through the face stretches with the breathing. Because you're breathing deliberately. Because when you do the face stretches, at first you'll notice that people will often hold their breath. And so you teach yourself to be aware and breathe deliberately while you're doing the face stretching. So what was happening prior to doing face stretches was the facial muscles are tight and in some chronic combination of contractions, and the breath is being held. So we're reversing that, stretching the face and breathing deliberately at the same time, so that so you're not stuck in any particular emotion or emotional expression in the face any longer. And the breath is moving through while other things are going on. So it's going to stimulate the vagus nerve. Let's see, sensory and motor pathways. The vagus nerve also consists of both sensory fibers, which carry information from organs to the brain, and motor fibers, which send signals from the brain to the organs. And 80 to 90% of its fibers are sensory, relaying information from the organs to the central nervous system. That's interesting. So you're actually getting data through that nerve, through those nerve fibers. So if that's blocked or if that's constricted, then you're not going to be getting accurate information from the body's organs to the central nervous system. So by activating the vagus nerve deliberately, the body will slow the heart rate, lower the blood pressure, stimulate digestion, and promote relaxation after stress. So it's the opposite of fight or flight response.
So do your faces, people.
Yeah, do the face stretches, definitely. It also helps control inflammation by signaling the production of anti-inflammatory substances. So that's interesting. And then stimulation of vagus nerve has been associated with improved mood and cognitive function. It says it's like a superhighway between the brain and body, carrying information back and forth to help maintain homeostasis in many critical body functions. Essential for calming the body after stress. Yeah. Influence mood and mental health. It's pretty cool.
That's wild.
Yeah, so that's worth looking into. There's a lot of science coming out about that now, but that helps me understand like how the face stretches work so well on so many different levels. Let me check one more thing. I want to see specifically if there's an answer about how it connects with the face and why. But okay, so yeah, the face stretches help stimulate the vagus nerve by directly engaging muscles and sensory pathways connected to its branches. So especially the ones in the head, neck, and face. The ventral branch of the vagus nerve is involved in the social engagement system, which controls the face muscles, the eyes, ears, and voice box. So when you stretch these areas around eyes, forehead, cheeks, jaw, and neck, you activate the ventral vagal pathways. So it shifts the body out of stress or a freeze fight or flight state into a state of relaxation and connection. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it signals, and when you're doing the face stretches deliberately, you're signaling like that the body is safe and letting the brain know that, and it starts regulating the nervous system. Reduces anxiety, improves mood, enhances your sense of presence and connection with other people. That's why doing the face stretches before having a conversation with your wife or husband can make a huge difference, or before an important phone call, before on a job interview. Yeah, very interesting stuff. Well, Mark, we've been going for about, I hope I wasn't off the screen for too long. We've been going for about an hour, so I figured that's how much we should go for today. But for folks watching, I want to, if you're watching this later, just put some questions or comments in the comment section, and we'll answer more questions next time. And Mark, you said you're good for going on Saturdays generally.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll figure out a time, and then we can come up with like a specific show if you want. Little entertainment, little undoing. We can put some more exercises into it, and I thought maybe some kind of like a bonus mission or adventure that we can like challenge each other, but also if people are watching the show, then they could do the adventure during the week.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, so let's come up with something for next time. We can meet, or we'll message or whatever, and then we can come up with a theme song too, and we can so we'll talk about that, and then either tomorrow, or if not tomorrow, then next Saturday we can get started. So folks, if you're watching, you'll be able to see Mark and I on the channel most likely once a week starting very soon. Thanks for coming, Mark. Really nice to see you, dude.
Yeah, good to see you as well. Thanks for having me.
Right on. So we'll see you again either tomorrow or in 1 week from tomorrow. Have fun, everybody. And if you've been watching this and you want to get some of those results for yourself, or handle the stress, anxiety, burnout, enhance mind-body connections, stimulate the Las Vegas nerve, then just look around in the playlist there. There's a bunch of exercises you can do right away. And you're still in Edmonton, Mark?
Yes, sir.
And if you're in the Edmonton area, you can reach out also to Mark for Radical Undoing sessions, or leave a comment here, and we'll make sure that he gets back to you on that. And you can check it out also at radicalundoing.com. So talk to you guys all again soon. Thanks again, Mark, and see you very soon. Enjoy.
See you later.